Hello, and welcome to another video. I am Bones McKay. I am here to talk about comics, and I was thinking a bit about webcomic fandom, okay? I was thinking about how do I make fans? And then I was thinking about how do I get readers? Because in my last in my last video, I talked a bit about viewership, readership, and I got a few comments and some stuck out to me. Some of them were questions. And the questions were like, how do you deal with knowing that like your niche comic is never going to get like a general audience and like lots of viewers? And the other question was like, how do I emotionally kind of handle the fact that like no one reads my comic? I had some thoughts about this. I think it's a good thing to think about because we can pump each other up. I can do a lot of pep talks. I can talk about finding the fire to make your art within yourself. All that. I can do that. I can do that as much as possible. But there's still going to be some truth to like the lived reality of a webcomic maker, right? It's still going to bite if no one is reading your comic, especially if you have friends who are also creatives and like they don't really engage with your work either. Like that sounds painful. When I first started making comics back in 2012, I had no one reading my comics. I don't even know if my dad was reading my comics, I'll be real. And it sucked. I think we had one person that was very invested in our comic. And once we had Pretty Mouth out, we started getting more people, and that was very helpful for my like passion and my drive. When I eventually started posting to Webtoon and Tapas, I started getting like an audience for my comic Sovereign, my very first comic, and that was great. I loved that. It was so much fun, and it really made me feel so much more excited to create, and it made me feel so much better about my art. And it's really helped me with this perspective that like a lot of the times it's not that your art's bad, it's that you can't find your audience. And I was trying to think of like how to help with this. I think there's some practical things we can do. Okay, in terms of trying to build your audience, you can post on multiple sites. You can get yourself on lists. Lists used to be huge. They used to be the hugest thing. I am connected with like a lot of different webcomic, published comic makers, whatever. Like I'm connected with a lot of comic people because I go to like comic things and I've been doing this for like a decade. So like I know a lot of people, and there's definitely been a shift towards a lot of more old school methods, which I'm very happy for. So like lists are making a comeback. There's the webcomic travel log, which I think you can get your comic listed on, and then there is the webcomic library, which has been going on for a long time, and it's very good, very good. But outside of lists, like what are some like other methods to get people to read? I think that when you're in the 0 follower world, when you're in the minimal to no followers world, what you want to do is probably network. Okay, I think networking is your best option, not because I think it'll make you famous or whatever. I don't know if it will actually boost your view counts. I don't know, but I think networking is great because you just need to find your webcomic team, your D&D group, okay? I was thinking about this, and you need to find a group of people that is diehard, and you need to be diehard for each other, okay? This happens a lot in like writing groups in the writing world. I always find that people have their little writing group and they're like diehard for each other. Like they are promoting each other's work. They are each other's biggest advocates. And I think we need to bring this. We need to bring this energy. So why? What am I proposing here? I think you need to do some commenting circles, okay? I think you need to get a group of people and you need to all like each other's work and you all need to comment on each other's pages whenever you post. And I think you need to be engaged commenters and just encourage people to keep making their art. There has been absolutely nothing as amazing as my wife reading everything that I write and leaving me thoughtful comments on every page, laughing at every single one of my jokes. Like, we need this, okay? Critique groups are one thing, and I think critique groups are great. I think improving is great, but I think we get too fixated on improvement, thinking that there's something wrong with us, and that's the reason we don't have a following or whatever. And maybe it is. Maybe there is some issues that are like stymieing your reach and your ability to succeed as a comic artist or whatever, but like, who cares about that part? So many people care about that part, but like, outside of that aspect, there's the other part where you also need encouragement, you know? Like, you can't make a comic purely based on critique and spite. It just becomes draining, it becomes not fun. You want positive reinforcement. If you only ever go to your friends to get criticism, it'll stymie it a lot. I think like you should think of it more as like a D&D group almost. You all have like your little solo campaigns that you're doing, but do we need to sit and critique a D&D group, you know? Like, can't you have fun with each of your own individual storylines and just be friends? I think that's important. It'll help you have other people to work with, other people to encourage you. There's the accountability aspect. You need to support each other. We need to support each other. Finding friends, networking is very important. And then you guys can all do a little web ring together. You guys remember web rings? It's basically you all link to each other's comics, and if you have more friends, other people have friends of friends, they do their linking. And then that's how we used to find comics. It's crazy to me, like how you used to, every time you read a comic, there would be like a little sidebar of like the comics I read, and you would click them. And that's how you found comics, the new comics. It was like the Webtoon algorithm thing where it's like, here's some comics you'd like, but it was like actually curated by someone. So like, do that. Don't be embarrassed of your friends. Like each other's work. Find people who write similar things to you, enjoy similar things to you. And if you're looking for comic community, you're looking for readers, I suggest going to my Discord. I think that's a good place to go. Not just to advertise myself, I just know there's comic people there. But outside of that, there's like tons of different art Discords and groups and whatever, and there's like social media, but like focus on connectedness. When you're dealing with like the very small beginning numbers of your webcomic, like you need meaningful engagement. You need evangelists. You need people who will push your stuff and be excited about it. And on to the point about feeling discouraged about not being able to reach a big audience because you have like a niche story or like a difficult story. It doesn't really matter, is going to be my thoughts on the matter. Okay, like sometimes when you have a general audience thing or a more wide breadth story, something like my first comic, Sovereign, right? Like it's just kind of a generic fantasy. Like it's not that like the audience could be general, but like it makes it even harder to find an audience. Whereas something as weird as Pretty Mouth, like once it found the people that would like it, like it flourished. When you start dealing with numbers like above like even 100 followers, like once you're hitting like thousands of followers, it starts being kind of insignificant, the difference between what it's like to have 5,000 followers versus not like thinking it from a YouTube perspective. Like I used to get like 100, like I tapped out at like 100 live stream viewers, and that was kind of overwhelming. Enjoy the bracket of viewership that you're in, because it's not always going to be like sun and roses on the other side of it. It can be more stressful to have a large audience. The dopamine of getting like new viewers is never as good as like your first 1,000. Like unless you do another big swing, like they're it's just so similar. It's the same feeling. The feeling doesn't change, just kind of like the environment around your comic changes. Like you start getting more people, like people start feeling like you're a little more unapproachable, and they can start leaving rude comments. I know a lot of people who have more popular comments, and like they can feel very discouraged because they get a lot of negative comments a lot of the times, and critiques and stuff, because people comment and don't necessarily think that they're talking directly to you anymore. So just kind of like enjoy where you're at. Like there are incredibly niche comics that are doing great, you know, like Magpie was doing great until my hiatus. Like it was doing good enough for me. I can make enough money to fund Kickstarters of it. Like it does well, and it's a M-rated comic that is really weird. It's so weird, okay? But it finds its audience. And the joy of webcomics, the joy of independent, self-published works, is that they get to be weird, and they get to be unabashedly weird, and you shouldn't feel awkward about it. You know, like I think about how like this is way up there, way upper echelon, but I think about how like George R.R. Martin like wasn't able to like hang out with fans in the same way, like after everything got picked up by like HBO. Like damn, I don't want that. And you can have like the online micro equivalent of that if things get out of control. So just enjoy where you're at. That said, like going back to like having no viewers, having like 20 people who read your comic that might or might not be bots you don't know because like they never comment, like that is where you need friends. Like you need to reach out to someone. You need to find, because like the live stream equivalent of that is finding a friend who will attend every stream with you and will talk with you. That was how me and Ursula started live streaming too. Was she lived in a different building than me. She lived with her parents. I lived with my parents. We would just do live streams so that I could watch her do art, and sometimes like other people would show up. That's how we used to do YouTube. Like that's how a lot of like our old live stream content used to be. Like most of it's not up anymore. It wasn't even on YouTube. It was on other like live stream platforms that have since gone under, but like that's how it started for us. You need to be in each other's corners. That's all I want to say in this. Let's leave some encouraging comments down below for anyone who is struggling, okay? We're going to be encouraging, and you're also going to tell me what you did with your comic today. So thank you. I talked way more than I thought I would. I have kind of gotten a hand cramp from all this editing. That's like the main injury. That it's not even editing this. It's editing the giant video that I'm working on. But thank you so much. It's lovely chatting with you every day. Goodbye.